Welcome to this guide for Demonology Warlocks on patch 7.03. If you're looking for specific parts of this guide, please feel free to click the annotations on either side of this video to jump to those sections. For the rest of you, we'll be going in order starting from an overview of the class. If you like this video and would like to see more, please consider subscribing to my channel. It means a lot to me and really makes creating these videos worth it. If you have any questions or comments, you can ask me in the comment section below or live on Twitch. The link to my channel is in the description. And with that, let's get into the guide. In Legion, Demonology Warlock has been changed to a spec that specializes in summoning multiple demons, and while not a pet class in the traditional sense, is as close as we can get in the current iteration of the game. They are currently the strongest spec for single target damage. Destruction pulls quite ahead in AoE, while Affliction is lacking both in single target and multiple target encounters. Demolock's speciality is low movement single target fights, and under Simcraft conditions is currently the highest DPS in the game. It also benefits from high survivability through passive and active shields, in addition to Soul Link. Its weakness, however, is any fight that has movement, as most of the rotation is hardcast. Next, I'd like to go over the basic spells we'll be using in our rotation. This isn't every spell in a Warlock's arsenal, just some of the ones you'll be using on a regular basis for PvE. First is Shadow Bolt. This is your filler spell, and one of the only ways to generate soul shards. It has no cooldown, and could do some decent damage if you're spec'd into Demon Bolt. Call Dreadstalkers is your main source of damage. It costs 2 soul shards to cast, and without haste, has a baseline cooldown of 15 seconds. Hand of Gul'dan is your main soul shard dump. It can use up to 4 soul shards, and summons an imp for each shard used. The spell does AoE damage on the initial hit, and is one of your only baseline spells to do AoE damage. Demon Wrath is your only other personal baseline AoE ability. It's a channeled spell that causes your demons to deal AoE damage to all targets within 10 yards. It's castable while you move, and each tick has a 15% chance to generate a soul shard. It's one of our only spells available to cast while moving, and should be used even on single target fights if you have nothing else to do and have to move to avoid mechanics. Doom is a dot that lasts 20 seconds. At the end it ticks 1 time and generates 1 soul shard. It should be applied to all targets and have 100% uptime. Life Tap restores 30% of your max mana in exchange for 10% of your max health. You can use this to regain missing mana, and it is castable while moving. Demonic Empowerment increases the health, damage, and haste of your active minions for 12 seconds. You should use this ability every time you call Dreadstalkers, use Hand of Gul'dan, or use any of your other pet cooldowns. This section is all about stat weights for Demonology. I'll list these in order of importance from 1 to 5 and give a brief explanation of why they have their weight. Haste is our most important stat. It increases the cast speed of all our spells as well as how many times your pets can attack before they despawn. It also increases the speed of your Doom procs and Shadowbolt cast time, greatly increasing shard generation. Haste is by far the most important stat for Demonology as it affects every aspect of our hard-casting playstyle. Coming in second is Intellect. It is your basic stat and will improve your spell power, increasing all spells you cast. Make sure to have this stat on every piece of gear. Critical Strike comes in at third, and it's fairly self-explanatory as it increases the critical strike chance of you and your pets. Next is Mastery. This increases the damage done by your demons through Demonic Empowerment. Although it will make your pets do more damage, it offers nothing to you as a caster, and thus has a smaller stat weight. Versatility comes in last as a flat damage done increase. You can live without a single point of versatility, and this stat falls just barely below Mastery in stat weight. In this section, I'm going to go over the artifact traits and the ideal way to progress through them. When you first get your artifact, you will get these 2 for free, and although Thalkiel's Consumption is a spell, you don't get it till your artifact, so I didn't go over this until in the spell section, but I will go over it in the rotation section later on in the guide. After you have this, your first point that you'll want to progress in is Summoner's Prowess. This is because it increases the haste and health done by Demonic Empowerment by an extra 6%. Next, you're going to want Imperator, because this increases your critical strike chance of your imp's Fell Firebolt by 35%, which is a huge damage buff. Next, you're going to want to go with Open Link, which increases your damage done by Soul Link by 10%. You can never have enough tankiness as a Warlock, especially since we don't have much movement abilities in raids. Next will be Stolen Power, and that allows you... 2 more links in that. This will allow your Shadowbolt to do extra damage after 100 applications of your Imp's Firebolt, which does stack up quite fast when you have a lot of Imps out at once. Mob Shadows will be next, and that will increase your critical strike chance of Demon Bolt or Shadow Bolt, depending on which one you have. Next, you'll want the Expendables, which, when your Wild Imps expire die, your other demons are inspired and gain 1% additional damage, stacking up to 10%. So, every 12 seconds when your Imps despawn, you get a 10% buff, roughly, because you will have about 10 Imps out at a time, depending on your haste. So that's roughly around a 7% increase of DPS just right there. After this, we're going to want to get Doom doubled, and that's gives Doom a chance to deal double damage, which actually is a pretty big damage increase. Next, you're wanting to come with Doom of Azeroth, which increases your damage dealt by Doom by an additional 30%. In raid situations, Doom will be doing a lot more damage than you expected it to. After this, we're going to want to come down this way and grab Sharpened Dreadfangs, which increases the critical strike chance of your Dreadstalkers, further increasing your DPS of them. After this, you're going to want Soul Skin. So when your health drops below 35%, Soul Link will increase to split 40% your damage with your pet. So that's just more survivability in raid situations. Although this does not count if you get hit by one ability that brings you below 35% in one hit, it doesn't work. Next will be Firm Resolve, which reduces the cooldown of Unending Resolve by 10 seconds. Next is Thalkiel's Discord. So this makes it so Shadow Bolt sometimes enrages your artifact, and it makes him basically do damage to the enemy that you're attacking. It's not the greatest talent, but you will see an increase in your DPS. And then finally, we're going to get Dirty Hands, which increases damage dealt by Hand of Gul'dan, and Legion Wrath, which increases the damage dealt by Demon Wrath. Now, these two aren't that great of artifact traits. That's why we picked them last, because this the damage increase by Hand of Gul'dan, your Hand of Gul'dan's initial damage isn't actually doing that much. Most of its damage is through the imps that it summons. And of course, Demon Wrath doesn't do that much damage in the first place, so we're going to pick it last. Once you have all these traits selected, it will open up a secret trait, and this will increase your damage by 5% for each rank, which stacks up to 20, which will increase all damage by 15%. In this section, we're going to go over talents. This is mainly for a raid perspective. I will slightly go over World Quest build and an AoE build, but this is mainly going to focus around a single target raid DPS build, which is what we excel at. All right, so first talent is going to be Demonic Calling, and this is just going to give your Shadow Bolt a 20% chance and Demon Wrath a 5% chance to make your called Dreadstalkers cost no shards. This is going to be your best DPS bet in a raid situation, although you can change it out if you get the legendary that makes it basically this is already a talent in that legendary. And then you're going to want to go with Shadowy Inspiration. They're actually fairly close together in DPS, so if you're doing World Quest, I would suggest Shadowy Inspiration just because it has less ramp-up time. For our Tier 2, talents, Improved Dreadstalkers is going to be your number one way to go for raid situations. That's because it also summons 2 Wild Imps, which is going to make your Demon Bolts hit even harder. For AoE situations and or world questing, Implosion is the way to go. After 12 seconds, you can just automatically cast this. Just get a weak aura or something, and you can blow up your pets, and it does a good amount of damage. Or you can just blow them up right away if you're trying to burn through AoE packs quickly. But for a raid situation, we're going to want to go with Improved Dreadstalkers. For this tier, Demon Skin is the only way to go, whether it's AoE, single target, raid situation, World Quest, anything. It just really helps your survivability a lot. Our next one, we're going to want to go to Hand of Doom. Now, all three of these are actually pretty decent, but Hand of Doom in raid situations applies Doom to all enemies it hits, so it's going to give you extra globals to not have to cast Doom on everything, and it just makes your life a lot easier. Soul Harvest is strong in raid It allows large damage values from Thalkiel's consumption and improves your burst window. It's really good on fights where you need to push specific timings or kill high importance targets, but I really never run this. Power Trip is okay on high movement single target. If you're gonna want to cast Doom manually. But altogether, I would choose Hand of Doom for any spec, AoE especially, but single target as well, and world. For our next, I would definitely suggest Dark Pact on this. It's got a 1 minute cooldown, but it's going to save you a lot of times in world quests or AoE or single target raid groups. I would highly suggest it. It would just save you too many times, especially if you know you're going to get hit by a mechanic and you don't want to stop your casting or something. You can just pop this. This next tier is really debatable, honestly. A lot of people are actually choosing Supremacy right now, and they're using a Doom Guard. That way, like on high mobility fights, this will make it so that you have a lot of DPS going while you're not able to cast because you're high mobility. This is questionable for me, but I just want to let you guys know that this is out there. Grimoire of Service. I think this is what the vast majority of people choose. That makes it you have a second empowered demon, basically, on a 1.5 minute cooldown. Gives you some extra DPS and high burst. This is the one I choose, is Grimoire of Synergy. I think this overall will give you the most DPS in the long run over the course of an entire dungeon or raid or whatever. So this is the one I personally choose. Although these two are very close in DPS, this will give you more burst, and Supremacy is still being tested basically by a lot of people. Last, for single target, you're going to want to go Demon Bolt. This does a lot of damage when you start getting a lot of minions out, and will be a good chunk of your damage at the end. Dark Glare is actually pretty close to it. I'd roughly say it's about 80% of the damage of Demon Bolt if you can time it right. It does require you to make sure that you have Doom on everything and summon it every time it's up. So usually it's less than 80% of the damage that Doom Bolt will do because you have to time this stuff. But in world quests and in AoE situations, like in mythics and stuff, this is your go-to. This is definitely way better. And paired with Hand of Doom, it's just going to make you destroy AoE packs much quicker. Although when I say destroy, I'm being a little overzealous because our AoE isn't that great to begin with. So yeah, those are your basic talents. If you want to look at those, that's your basic talents for raid situation right there. Finally, we'll be talking about our rotation, which, contrary to this popular term, is actually a priority system. First off, you want to maintain Doom on your target at all times. This ensures some solid DPS and increases our shards gained. Next, you'll want to cast Dreadstalkers every time it's up. Use Summon Doomguard whenever its cooldown is up. Then Hand of Gul'dan when you have 4 or more shards. Cast Demonic Empowerment when your demons aren't empowerment. This will usually look something like Summon Dreadstalkers, Demonic Empowerment. Hand of Gul'dan, Demonic Empowerment. Basically, you want to keep this up after every pet you summon. You'll use Thalkiel's Consumption whenever it's off cooldown and you have at least 4 imps and your Dreadstalkers out to increase its maximum damage. Use Life Tap when you are below 50% mana or moving. Use Demon Wrath when there are 3 or more targets around your demons or whenever you're moving to keep your DPS up. And lastly in this priority list is to cast Demon Bolt to generate soul shards. Now this is your raid priority list for single target or possibly cleave. It might take you a while to memorize this list, but soon it will come second nature to you and you will be able to pump out the maximum DPS available to your gear level. When it comes to AoE packs and your spec for it, you'll want to use Dark Glare off cooldown after you've marked your targets with Doom from Hand of Gul'dan. You'll no longer spend shards on Dreadstalkers, instead using only Hand of Gul'dan to generate imps, and then using Implosion to detonate them after they have been up for 11 seconds. Demon Wrath will be your only shard generating ability during AoE, and you should use Fellstorm off cooldown. Well guys, I hope this video helped you out, and I wish you luck on your adventure as a Demonology Warlock. Please subscribe to see more, and click like if this video helped you out. Okay, bye. Forever.